So we go to the movies, but it's hard because Michael got to sneak in the movie right before it starts. Now I'm sitting there, well, where's Michael? And then I turn around, he's like, hey, Chris. I'm like, oh, man. How long you been here? About 5 minutes.
What if the funniest man in Hollywood isn't just a comedian, but the reason some of the biggest global legends, from music icons to action stars, completely forget they're famous when they're around him? Chris Tucker has this strange, almost unreal ability to walk into a room full of billion-dollar fame and turn it into something that feels like childhood laughter again. And once you hear the stories behind Michael Jackson, Jackie Chan, and even Prince interacting with him, you start to realize this isn't just celebrity friendship, it's something way more unexpected than that. Chris Tucker is widely recognized as one of Hollywood's most naturally expressive comedic performers, particularly known for his high-energy delivery, fast-paced dialogue, and improvisational timing. After his breakout success in the mid-1990s with films like Friday, 1995, where the movie later gained cult status despite a modest budget of around $3.5 million USD, he quickly became one of the most distinctive comic voices in American cinema. His global popularity expanded even further with the Rush Hour franchise, which became a major international success, earning over $800 million USD worldwide across its trilogy, and establishing him as one of the highest-grossing comedy action actors of his era. Within that wider fame, one of the most discussed aspects of Chris Tucker's personality is his ability to create genuine, unscripted laughter in even the most controlled environments. Industry accounts and interviews consistently describe him as someone whose presence naturally disrupts formality, especially around other highly disciplined or reserved personalities. This is particularly notable in his friendship with Michael Jackson, one of the most influential entertainers in history, with estimated record sales exceeding 500 million units globally and a career defined by extreme public control and perfectionism. Despite Michael Jackson's famously private and composed public image, his interactions with Chris Tucker reportedly revealed a much more relaxed and emotionally expressive side. In private and semi-public settings, Chris's spontaneous humor often led to uncontrollable laughter from Michael, breaking the usual formality associated with his public persona. This contrast is significant because Michael's appearances were typically highly structured, yet in Chris's presence, that structure often gave way to genuine, unscripted reactions. Their dynamic became an example of how personal comfort can override even the most carefully maintained public image. Chris's humor style, heavily reliant on timing, exaggeration, and rapid conversational shifts, often turned even simple everyday observations into comedic moments. This type of improvisational comedy aligns with techniques used in stand-up performance, where exaggeration and rhythm are key to audience engagement. In informal settings with Michael Jackson, Chris reportedly used the same approach, transforming ordinary conversations into moments of shared laughter that felt spontaneous rather than performed. This is why their friendship was often described as unusually natural for two global icons operating at completely different ends of the entertainment spectrum. Another notable detail often mentioned in accounts of their friendship is Michael Jackson's habit of personal, affectionate communication with close friends. Known for maintaining a small and trusted inner circle despite his global fame, Michael occasionally used playful nicknames and direct phone calls as a way of staying connected. Chris Tucker has referenced this warmth in describing their interactions, including moments where Michael would call just to check in on him. These personal exchanges highlight a side of Michael that contrasts with his public image as a highly guarded and intensely private figure. The emotional tone of their relationship is also reflected in how both individuals responded to each other's presence. While Michael Jackson brought global cultural weight and artistic legacy spanning decades, Chris Tucker contributed an atmosphere of ease and humor that helped soften the intensity of celebrity life. Their connection illustrates a rare dynamic in entertainment history, a balance between global superstardom and grounded, human interaction, where laughter becomes the primary bridge between two vastly different personalities. In essence, the significance of Chris Tucker's influence in these moments is not just about comedy, but about emotional accessibility at the highest levels of fame. His ability to generate authentic laughter from someone as controlled and iconic as Michael Jackson demonstrates the power of personality-driven humor in environments where everything else is often highly managed. Chris Tucker's accounts of his time with Michael Jackson offer a rare, humanized glimpse into how one of the most globally recognized entertainers, an artist who sold over 500 million records worldwide and won 13 Grammy My awards behaved in private settings away from tightly controlled public appearances. While Michael Jackson's public image was often associated with precision, choreography, and highly structured performances, people close to him frequently described a very different atmosphere in personal environments: relaxed, emotionally expressive, and unusually enthusiastic about simple experiences. One of the recurring themes Chris Tucker has highlighted is how naturally animated Michael became during casual activities like watching films. Instead of the restrained presence many people expected, Michael would reportedly react with unfiltered excitement, laughing loudly, and engaging with scenes in a way that reflected a deeply childlike sense of wonder. This behavior aligns with several other accounts from individuals within his inner circle, who often described him as someone who found genuine joy in ordinary entertainment experiences, despite living a life constantly surrounded by global fame, security, and public scrutiny. Another well-documented aspect of Michael Jackson's personality was his generosity, which has been referenced by numerous collaborators, friends, and industry figures throughout his career. Chris Tucker's story about casually complimenting an item and Michael immediately offering it as a gift fits into a broader pattern that has been reported in multiple biographies and interviews. Michael was known for frequently giving away personal belongings, jewelry, and memorabilia without hesitation. This level of generosity was not occasional, but part of a consistent behavioral pattern that reflected his emotional attachment to people rather than material possessions. In Chris's case, this experience reportedly left a lasting impression, shaping how he viewed Michael's approach to relationships and material value. Beyond his friendship with Michael Jackson, Chris Tucker's interactions with other Hollywood figures also reflect a recurring theme of trust-based relationships that often defy typical industry boundaries. His friendship with Charlie Sheen is one of the most frequently retold examples. Charlie Sheen, who at the height of his career on 2.5 Men earned approximately $1.8 million USD per episode, was widely known in Hollywood for his unpredictable lifestyle and strong personality. Yet within his personal circle, he also demonstrated moments of unexpected generosity and trust. One of the more unusual stories associated with their friendship involves Charlie Sheen reportedly lending Chris Tucker his Ferrari during Chris's younger years in the industry. High-end Ferraris at the time often ranged between $150,000 to over $250,000 USD depending on the model, making such a gesture a significant display of trust. According to the story, Chris kept the vehicle for an extended period before Charlie eventually had to remind him to return it. While told humorously, the anecdote reflects a broader pattern in Hollywood friendships where personal trust occasionally overrides formal expectations, especially among performers who share long-standing bonds. Taken together, these stories illustrate a consistent theme across Chris Tucker's relationships, a world where celebrity status does not always translate into distance or formality. Instead, his interactions with figures like Michael Jackson and Charlie Sheen reveal a network of friendships built on spontaneity, humor, and unusually high levels of trust. In an industry often defined by contracts, publicity control, and professional boundaries, these moments stand out because they reflect something more personal and unstructured, human connection operating outside the usual framework of fame. One of the most memorable behind-the-scenes intersections in modern entertainment history involves Chris Tucker, Michael Jackson, and Jackie Chan, three figures who each dominated completely different global industries. Michael Jackson, widely referred to as the King of Pop, sold over 500 million records worldwide and remains one of the most influential recording artists in history. Jackie Chan, meanwhile, built a career spanning more than 150 films, performing the majority of his own stunts and becoming one of the most recognizable action stars globally. Chris Tucker, rising to fame through stand-up comedy and later major Hollywood success, became the bridge between these worlds through his natural ability to connect with people through humor. Before all three properly interacted in the same creative orbit, there were already unusual and humorous misunderstandings that became part of their shared legacy. One widely repeated anecdote involves Michael Jackson attempting to contact Jackie Chan by phone. Given Michael's extremely private lifestyle, often using assistants and tightly controlled communication channels, and Jackie Chan's busy international filming schedule, the exchange reportedly did not go smoothly. The conversation was brief and unclear enough that Jackie initially assumed it might be a prank call and ended the interaction. While simple on the surface, this moment reflects the logistical reality of how difficult direct communication could be between global icons operating in different continents, time zones, and entertainment industries. When they eventually reconnected properly, the misunderstanding was resolved in a lighthearted way, turning into a story that symbolized how humor can bridge even the most unexpected communication gaps. Chris Tucker later became an important connecting presence in this trio's wider story, especially through his work and friendship with Jackie Chan during the Rush Hour franchise. The trilogy itself became a major international success, grossing over $800 million worldwide and significantly contributing to the global popularity of East-West action comedy collaborations. On set, Jackie Chan was known for his exceptional discipline and attention to detail, often performing highly complex stunt sequences involving precise timing, choreography, and physical risk. In contrast, Chris brought improvisational humor and spontaneous energy, creating a dynamic balance that defined the tone of the films. Behind the scenes, Jackie Chan's personality toward Chris Tucker was often described as extremely generous and attentive. Reports and interviews from the production period suggest that Jackie would frequently send gifts and thoughtful gestures to Chris throughout filming. This behavior aligns with Jackie Chan's well-documented reputation for treating cast and crew with generosity, particularly in his Hong Kong and international productions, where he has often been noted for providing bonuses and personal support to team members. Chris, in turn, reportedly felt overwhelmed by this level of generosity and humorously found it difficult to reciprocate in a meaningful way, given Jackie's already established global success and resources. Despite language barriers and cultural differences, their collaboration became one of the most successful examples of cross-cultural comedic chemistry in Hollywood cinema. Another significant and often highlighted encounter in Chris Tucker's circle involved music icon Prince, an artist who sold over 100 million records worldwide and was known for maintaining strict creative control over his artistic identity. Prince's public persona was famously enigmatic, with selective appearances and a highly private communication style. Chris's first interaction with him reportedly reflected this uniqueness. Instead of a conventional introduction, Prince attempted to capture attention in a subtle and unconventional way, consistent with his artistic personality and preference for indirect communication. When they eventually spoke, Chris Tucker was struck by the contrast between Prince's physical presence and his artistic intensity. Standing at approximately 157 cm, Prince was physically small in stature, yet carried a commanding presence that often filled entire rooms. His voice, while soft-spoken, carried a strong sense of authority and confidence, reflecting his position as one of the most innovative musicians of his generation, responsible for over 4 decades of influential work across multiple genres. Their interaction reportedly included discussions about creativity, performance style, and artistic expression areas where both individuals, despite very different backgrounds, found common ground. Taken together, these stories illustrate how Chris Tucker's career placed him at the center of rare intersections between global entertainment figures. Whether connecting Hollywood action cinema with Hong Kong martial arts legends or bridging the worlds of comedy and global music icons, his experiences highlight how cultural boundaries in entertainment often blur when personalities connect on a human level. Chris Tucker's social world is often described as unusually wide-reaching, spanning film, music, sports, and even political circles, which is a natural result of his decades-long career in global entertainment. After rising to prominence in the 1990s and becoming a worldwide box office draw through the Rush Hour franchise, which collectively grossed over $800 million internationally, Chris moved in spaces where high-level industry networking is constant. In Hollywood terms, that level of commercial success typically places actors in frequent proximity to major cultural figures, award circuits like the Academy Awards, and international promotional tour across multiple continents. Because of this visibility, Chris has developed a reputation for having an exceptionally diverse network of acquaintances and collaborators. Actor Ben Affleck, who has worked in the industry for decades himself and is an Academy Award winner, has humorously commented in interviews about Chris's tendency to appear connected to nearly everyone in entertainment and beyond. While clearly exaggerated for comedic effect, this reflects a broader truth about Chris's career. Over 30 years in the industry naturally placed him in contact with a vast number of influential figures across different fields. In environments like award shows, film festivals, charity events, and global premieres, it is common for top-tier actors to encounter athletes, musicians, and political figures in highly informal social settings. References to names like Muhammad Ali and Paul McCartney in these anecdotes highlight the scale of cultural overlap in modern celebrity ecosystems. Muhammad Ali, widely regarded as one of the greatest athletes in history, with 3 heavyweight world titles and global cultural influence beyond boxing, and Paul McCartney, a member of the Beatles whose estimated record sales exceed 600 million units worldwide, represent the kind of legacy figures who often appear in elite philanthropic or entertainment-adjacent events. In such spaces, interactions between different generations of global icons are not uncommon, which contributes to the perception of a tightly interconnected celebrity world where boundaries between industries blur. Despite this extraordinary level of exposure, Chris Tucker is often described as maintaining a surprisingly grounded personal lifestyle. Unlike many celebrities who adopt highly curated public routines, Chris is frequently reported to engage in ordinary day-to-day activities such as grocery shopping, neighborhood interactions, and casual public outings without excessive formality. This contrast between global fame and everyday behavior is part of what shapes his public image. Even after achieving international recognition across films that collectively earned over $1 billion at the box office across his career, he has often been seen in environments that are indistinguishable from those of non-celebrities. Public reactions to him in such settings often reflect the lasting impact of his on-screen persona. Because roles like Detective James Carter in Rush Hour became culturally iconic across multiple countries, audiences frequently associate him with larger-than-life comedic energy. As a result, when people encounter him in real life, especially outside entertainment contexts, reactions can range from surprise to disbelief. Yet Chris himself is known for responding in a relaxed and humorous manner, often diffusing attention by treating the situation as completely normal rather than exceptional. This contrast between global recognition and everyday simplicity creates a consistent theme in how Chris Tucker is perceived. On one hand, he exists within a highly interconnected celebrity ecosystem that includes some of the most influential figures in modern cultural history. On the other hand, he continues to navigate routine aspects of life in a way that reflects a preference for normalcy over spectacle. Together, these two realities form the foundation of his public identity, a globally recognized entertainer whose personal behavior remains intentionally rooted in simplicity and humor. Chris Tucker's public image is often defined by his high-energy comedic style, but over the years, interviews and behind-the-scenes accounts have also revealed a more reflective and grounded side to his personality. This duality is not uncommon among long-standing entertainers, especially those who have maintained careers across multiple decades of intense industry pressure. After achieving global recognition through the Rush Hour franchise, which collectively earned over $800 million worldwide, and becoming one of the most recognizable comedic actors of his generation, Chris has also navigated the quieter, more introspective realities that often come with long-term fame. In several public conversations and interviews, Chris has shown that he does not always rely on humor as a default response, particularly when topics shift toward life experience, personal growth, or mortality. While his professional identity is built on comedy, his off-screen demeanor often reflects a more thoughtful awareness of life's unpredictability. This contrast highlights an important aspect of many performers' psychology. Sustained exposure to fame, financial fluctuation, and public scrutiny often leads to a more grounded perspective over time. In Chris's case, this is reflected in how he speaks about life with a balance of humor and sincerity rather than purely comedic framing. His career itself has included significant financial and professional highs and lows that contribute to this perspective. At the peak of his success, he was part of one of Hollywood's most commercially successful comedy action franchises, with Rush Hour 2 alone grossing over $330 million globally. However, he also faced well-documented financial and tax-related challenges in the mid-2010s, which became public and were widely reported in entertainment media. Experiences like these often reshape how public figures view success, stability, and long-term priorities, leading to more reflective attitudes in later years. Beyond financial and professional dimensions, Chris Tucker's relationships within Hollywood also reflect a life shaped by unpredictability and strong personal connections. From friendships with global icons like Michael Jackson, whose influence spanned over 4 decades of music history and hundreds of millions of records sold, to collaborations with action legends like Jackie Chan, Chris has consistently moved within environments where cultural, linguistic, and professional boundaries overlap. These interactions often produced moments that were both chaotic and deeply human, reinforcing the idea that even the most famous individuals operate within surprisingly informal personal dynamics behind the scenes. The mention of private planes, spontaneous decisions, and high-value experiences is also reflective of the logistical reality of top-tier Hollywood careers. International film promotion, especially for global franchises like Rush Hour, often requires travel across multiple continents within short time frames, sometimes involving chartered flights or last-minute scheduling changes. In such environments, decisions that appear spontaneous from the outside are often part of the fast-paced operational structure of global entertainment marketing. What ties all of these experiences together is the consistency of human connection in Chris Tucker's life story. Whether interacting with political figures, sports legends, or entertainment icons, his presence is frequently described as a force that lowers formality and increases authenticity in social settings. This is why many of his stories, whether involving joking impersonations of public figures, casual conversations with close friends, or quiet moments with globally recognized artists, tend to feel larger than life while still remaining grounded in relatable human behavior. Ultimately, Chris Tucker's journey reflects the broader reality of long-term fame, a constant movement between public performance and private reflection. While audiences primarily see his comedic brilliance, the deeper narrative of his life includes adaptability, resilience, and an evolving understanding of success beyond the screen. And honestly, this is just one layer of Chris Tucker's world. If you want more untold Hollywood moments, behind-the-scenes stories, and real encounters between global legends that most people never hear about, then don't stop here. Stick around and stay connected, because the deeper you go into these stories, the more unbelievable they get, and trust me, you're going to want to see what comes next.